1 hour more per day on my core 3. I begin this every year. First move, I need to identify what are the core 3 things right now that have been bringing me results this year. The core 3 things. So as an example, in my business, I go, okay, what are the 3 primary revenue drivers we have right now? Because just like you, if you're in marketing, you probably tested a lot of things throughout the early part of the year, the spring, even an early part of the summer. So my question is, what's been working? And I mean absolutely working. What are the 3 absolute best things that are working for you in your business or your career or your personal life if you're not employed or not self-employed? What's the 3 things that are so working for you? I want you to know what those 3 things are. And overall, I want you to give an hour every day more to a focus of 1, 2, or 3, all 3 of those things.
Need motivation?
Watch the top 10 of Believe Nation because I love it.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle.
But you know you're capable of more, and you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best.
So today, let's learn from one of the best, Brendon Burchard, and my take on his top 50 rules for success. Enjoy.
Let me give you an example. Right now, in my business, right, one of my core 3 is our book funnel. Like, so for me, as you guys know, as an author and a trainer, when I sell books, that's good for the business. We sell books, then people want online courses, then they want to come to our seminars, then someday they might join our program like we're doing here, our live events or our masterminds, or they might hire us for a coach, or they might hire me for speaking. But the book is a big core 3 for the business, right? And so right now I go, okay, I need every single day, the rest of this year, to give more time to that thing. Every day, not on a Wednesday, not on a Saturday, like every day I need to check in the numbers, create a new ad, flip out a page, I need to lead my team better on it. Something every day for that one thing. Make sense? So if you got 3 things, what I want an hour more. So that means it might be in 20 minutes, and 20 minutes. So you're giving 20 minutes more each day, or maybe you just choose one, and you're gonna give that an hour more a day. But it's basically this, 1 more work hour of the day focused on one of the core 3. Got it? Write it down. And this, for you, I want you to start this today. Today. If that means you're watching this in Munich, Germany, and we finish this tonight and you stay up 1 more hour, I'm like, cheers, man, do that. But it's like today, for those of you who are here in the US, in this time zone, I'm like, today, 1 more hour on focusing. I often call the core 3 or the needle movers, the primary 3 things that are working. I need an hour more from you a day for the rest of the year. And you will thank me for the next decade. You'll be like, oh my God, Brendon. Because what happens is, and you know this, you're getting caught up in distraction. And so right now, people are lackadaisical and they're not focused on the right things. So I want you to think, where are you distracted? I want you to clear out the distractions. I want you to say, the core 3 things in my business are, and I need you to give an hour or more a day on those. That's it. If you'll start that now, and you'll punch in that hour more every day until Thanksgiving, I promise your Christmas will be unbelievable. Confidence is your belief in your ability to figure things out. Now, often you cheat yourself because you think, well, no, confidence is I've done everything I need to do in the world and I have all the successes and I'm on the cover of magazines and I'm rich, and we tell ourselves, I'll have confidence when. But if you're gonna change your life, you need to, right now, adopt a more confident mindset and say, you know what? Confidence, I don't have to know everything in the world. I don't have to be the most successful person on the block. What I need to do is believe in myself and believe in my ability to figure things out. Give me enough time, energy, resources, mentorship, study, I can achieve my dreams. That's where it really begins, belief in our ability to figure things out. Now, of course, at a deep psychological level, we know that confidence is all about your sense of worth, your sense of capability or ability to do things, and your belief also in not only yourself, but your future. And let me say those couple things to you. Worth, ability, future. If you don't believe you're worth anything, obviously your confidence is there. If you don't believe you're able to go do anything, obviously your confidence is there. Psychologists often call this self-efficacy, right? You just don't feel like you can, be efficacious or be a person who gets things done in the world because you don't believe in your ability. And last, confidence has a lot to do with your perception of where you'll be in the future. If you think you're gonna be broke and a loser in the future, obviously you're not gonna go for it today, right? If you see yourself as lonely and an outcast in the future, you're obviously not gonna walk up to her or him and say, hey, how you doing? In my industry, as I came in the thought leader industry, we call it, which is, author, speaker, coach, seminar leader, life coach, business coach, or online trainer, or online thought leader, social media thought leader. In that culture, which we just call the thought leader industry, when I came into it, everything was outsourcing. Everyone says outsource, outsource, outsource. Don't need to do video, outsource it. Don't need to do audio, outsource it. Don't need to learn how to manage your stage career, outsource it. Everybody said outsource everything, but I was like, you know what? That's just not true. In every given career, there's a set of skills that you have to master and develop into if you're going to become excellent at what you do. If you're going to become the highest paid in your company, or highest paid in your industry, or highest paid in your field, you have to dial it in and understand, what are the skills I'm working on? You hear me say this before at High Performance Academy. Like, if I parachuted into your house right now, or onto your roof, and then climbed down and got into your house. If I came into your house and I actually looked at your calendar, we opened up your laptop, we looked at your calendar, could I see in your calendar over the next couple months, clear block time that you've designated towards developing the skills that are necessary for you to win? Like, is it in your calendar, or are you just gonna outsource it? And you really have to know what those skills are. For what I was doing, people told me at the very beginning of my career, Brendon, you don't need to learn video. Why would you learn video? Just hire a videographer or a filmmaker right off the bat. And I said, well, one, I just started my career. I'm what you call broke. I don't have the ability to just go hire people. I know some of you guys are watching this and you're like, I don't have the ability to hire 10, 15, 20 people, but everyone tells me just go hire people. Sometimes you need to develop the skills to do everything in your business until you get the amount of revenue where you can hire somebody and maintain their monthly retainer or maintain their salary. And that was true for me. When I first began, people were like, just outsource, get a videographer. I was like, I don't have the money for that. So I went out and I bought a cheap, what do they call those things? Flip video camera. Do you remember those? It was a little flip video camera, and I set it up in boxes in my girlfriend's apartment. And I took the little flip video camera, and I didn't know how to use it, so I had to teach myself how to use it. And then I went around, I tied it to the box with duct tape around this box, and I put little notes next to it. And I would have to get up and go press the record button, come back, and like, hi, I'm Brendon Burchard. And I was like freaked out. I didn't even know how to do what I was doing. But I learned how to take that video out. I learned how to upload it. I learned how to edit it. I learned how to put in sound and music and graphics and all these things that took forever back then, and I had no idea to do it. So I would be up 2, 3, 4 in the morning teaching myself how to do it. People also said, well, Brendon, just hire a marketing manager to send your emails out and build your newsletter list. I was like, I don't have any money to do that. Brendon, hire somebody to do your online marketing. I was like, I don't have any money to do that. But here's the other side of it. It wasn't that I didn't have the money to do it. I also had the foresight to realize these were going to be critical skills to my future. What are the critical skills that will be necessary for your future? You have to figure that out. I didn't outsource marketing because if I don't learn marketing, see, marketing is always going to be a piece of my future, isn't it? So I said, I had better learn to master marketing. It's always going to be something I have to do in my career. What's the skill that you're always going to have to know and do? And I want you to dive deep in it. I want you to dork out in it. I want you to get excited about it. I would spend hours and hours and hours researching things, trying things, learning about things that I had no skill in. Because we live in a world that's telling this huge lie. And this lie is, hey, you know what? Just follow your passions. Just do what you're naturally good at. Just follow your strengths. And I'm like, well, sometimes your strengths are insufficient to build the business you need to build. Sometimes what you're naturally good at, just because you're good at it and you like it and you have passion for it, isn't what's required to actually build and sell and do. I'm not saying don't follow your strengths. I'm saying don't rely on your strengths. You know, the truth is your mission and your dream should never be made to bow down to your limited strengths.
You want to know how you become unstoppable? You learn that the energy you have is not an accident. And you learn that the energy you have isn't even the way it works. I always use this metaphor. The power plant doesn't have energy. It generates energy. The power plant doesn't have energy. It generates energy. What does that mean? Well, what a power plant does is it draws energy from one resource and it transforms it to a higher utilization of energy and then transmits it to the world. You have that same opportunity. You don't have to wait for happiness to arrive one day. You don't have to wait for good energy to arrive one day. You can architect that into your mind and into your body. You don't have to hope one day to feel more joyous. You learn to bring the joy. You bring the joy. You bring the joy to the morning light. You bring the joy to your family. You bring the joy to the dinner table. You bring the joy to that team who sometimes, and you show up with a positive mindset every day and they're like, who is this person? And you know what? When they call you annoying or they call you inauthentic or they call you too happy or a stupid optimist or whatever, you take the joy that you're part of a rare set of human beings who would spend their day like this, working on ourselves and growing, because you know what? You want to get believers in your life, get some momentum with a good attitude. And all of a sudden they start coming around when they're like, oh, wow, you're different. And you're like, yes, I am, because you worked for it, because you knew life was short. You knew it was short. And you decided at some point in your life, hey, there's only so much time. Let me show up with greater intention. Let me deal with these struggles just head on. You can do this courageously, and you decide to bring the joy because life is short. And like me, I hope you want to earn this life.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
You have to have a process every single week where you let go of the screw-ups of the week. See, what most people do is they just carry the screw-ups, hate myself, failure, screw up, label, screw up, label, screw up, label, screw up, label. And all the mess ups of their life, they start defining as themselves. And the mistake you made weeks ago, you labeled it as part of your identity versus a behavioral mistake, right? Behaviors change every day. Your behaviors today are different than they were yesterday. Like, behaviors are very adaptive and reactionary type of thing. You'll get some behaviors wrong, some behaviors right. But what most people do is they get the wrong behavior and they pull that wrong behavior and they pull it into identity. Mess up, they grab the mess up and they make it their mindset. No, the mess up was a behavioral problem. It is an identity problem. And so they take the mess up, the problem, and they make it the personhood. And that's what we call making mountains out of molehills. Like, so what? You got the project in late. Does that mean you're a complete failure? No, it means you got the project in late, dude. Next time, plan better. Jesus, right? It's like we take the little things and we blow it up into who we are. Who you are is not all the mess ups. It's part of your learning journey, but it's not you. And so you got to know, like, there's a difference here. And sometimes baggage is recognizing, oh, that was an awkward, weird, uncomfortable, harmful situation, but that's not me. That was a situation. It was a behavior. It was something that happened, an occasion. And then we can go, okay, if that's true, then who am I really? Who do I want to be? who am I now at this age of my life without those old stories? And you got to give yourself that distinction. But here's the thing. I told you, you need a reminder. It needs to be a rhythm for you. It's part of my Sunday rhythm. Some of you guys know I do my Sunday review. And when I do my Sunday review, I literally go, okay, where could I have shown up better this last week? Where could I have behaved better this last week? What could I have done better this last week? And I just reflect on previous week and I identify the things that didn't go the way I wanted to. And I ask, okay, what could I have done? And then I do the most simple and basic thing that you could do on a Sunday. I forgive myself and I let it go. A healthy response is health. People ask me often, well, how do I deal with this well? I go, be healthy. And what I mean by that is specifically when you know you're disappointed, when you know you're sad, when you know you've got major setbacks, you have to delay the response to order 10 gallons of pad thai. Okay? You just have to. You cannot be like, you know what? I feel terrible, so bust out the 3 bottles of wine, here we go. You have to delay the response that is unhealthy. Does that make sense? It's super easy. I mean, it's crazy easy to, when you are having a down day or you're feeling disappointed, to go, oh my gosh, and go wreck yourself and get exhausted. So what happens? You're disappointed or you have a major setback. You know what you want to do? Sometimes your response, high performers, is overwork. You're sad, so what do? You overwork. Or there's a major setback. So I'm going to work 24/7 for 9 months. And you basically kind of kill yourself working. And so in that way you say, but I'm getting ahead. No, actually all of productivity science and all of well-being science proves over and over and over again, you compromising your sleep and overworking yourself is actually making your decisions be poorer. It's making your reactions to other people be less sensitive, less helpful. You're worse at negotiating. You're worse at closing sales. You're worse at effectiveness in your own time of doing basic tasks. You're worse at everything that has to do with leadership and progress and human relationships, you're worse at when you cope by overworking. But that's what we do. I'm disappointed, so I'm going to work harder. I'm mad, so I'm going to work harder. The business isn't doing well, so I'm going to work harder. But if you overwork yourself, that is not a healthy response. The first thing I want you to figure out is what is the business or the brand or the company you're really trying to build over the long term. And I know that sounds like, yeah, no doubt, Brendon, common sense. But many of you, you're entrepreneurs, you're stay-at-home, you're maybe a stay-at-home mom and you're working on building that side brand or that side hustle. You're out in the marketplace and maybe you're already doing something where you're kind of fully committed to it, but kind of not because you've got this other safe job over here. Maybe you're somebody who just started and you're not even sure what you're supposed to be doing yet. The wrong time to hire is when you don't know what you're supposed to be doing yet, you don't know the business model, and you don't know where you want to be in 3, 4, 5 years. It's really important for you to get clarity before you hire. And I know that's so common sense, but it's not common practice. And a lot of people hire too soon, and then what happens is because they didn't know the business model, or they didn't know what they really wanted, they got in a place where they had a lot of team or that first virtual employee, that first assistant, and they were all kind of running around like, what do we do? What are we here for? And you didn't even have clarity on your purpose or your mission or your ambition for the business. And that's not where you want to be. Because I think the most important thing is when you're going to hire and build a high-performing team is that you have commitment for your future. You have clarity. When you are hiring, you're not hiring because you have a side hustle. You're not hiring because you have a hobby. You're hiring because you have a clear mission. And your commitment to that is everything because you're going to ask people to come on your team who they're committing their life, they're committing their day, they're committing their mortgage payment, their rent payment to you. There's a responsibility in you hiring that you got to know what you're hiring for. And that is so critical. I see people do that all wrong all the time. Friends in Silicon Valley, they get a bunch of investment, they hire 10 people. They don't know what those 10 people are going to do. They didn't know the business model. They ran out of revenue, and they had those people on for a year or two, and then they ran out of cash and had to let them go. I don't want you to be in that position. So the right time to hire is always when first you've defined that mission, that goal, that business, that dream for that 3-5 year out plan. And then you know that you're fully committed and you're gonna work it. And then you also really take joy in leading and managing people. Because the truth is, you can outsource a lot of things and not have to deal with it. Or you say, listen, I'm gonna make sure when I hire well. I look at everything I'm doing right now, everything for my business right now. And I go, okay, of all these things I'm doing, which ones will lead to significant growth this year? Which ones will lead to significant growth this year? Everything else I start pushing out on the calendar. Whether I push it out 2, 3, 4 months from now, or I push it till next year. But I do a real close look at all of my activities. I look at my partnerships, my relationships. I look at everything I'm doing in terms of marketing funnels or brand building or what I'm doing in the marketplace or what I'm doing in my career. And I go, which ones of these things are leading to significant growth? And if it's not leading to significant growth, I need to minimize that time. Now I know you might say, well, what's the difference between like a core 3 and a significant growth rule? Well, the significant growth rule is for the rest of the year, right? The core 3, you already know. The core 3 are the 3 things you're already doing to getting results. The significant growth rule is all these new ideas people are gonna give you and put on your plate in August and September and October, November. Everyone's gonna give you some more things to do, right? There's gonna be new opportunities. And every new opportunity or every new idea, your thing has to be at this time of year, will that lead to significant growth this year? If it is, maybe you can add that on to your workload. Because remember, I'm just asking for an hour here. Maybe you can add that on. But if a project comes your way and it doesn't lead to significant growth at this stage of the year, and it won't lead to significant growth the rest of this year, I'm out. I'm out. So I turned down 2 or 3 projects just last night from people. Good ideas, great ideas. But I know those won't lead to significant growth until next year. So I'm like, not till next year. Because I know that instead, if I focus on these things, the core 3, or other projects that I do know lead to significant growth, in other words, significant growth is a way for you to prioritize and say no. I don't want you taking on any new projects at this stage of the year if you don't believe they'll lead to real growth by the end of the year, because you could just focus on these more, right? It's that old story of acres of the diamonds. You know, people travel all around the world looking for the treasure and working so hard looking for the new thing, and then they come home and one day they put the spade in the backyard and they dig up some diamonds, right? Often, your next big breakthrough, it's already in your yard. You know, what I tell people all the time, you've probably already met the person who's gonna help you generate your next $100,000, your next $1 million. Like you already met, they're already in your network. But you're spending all this time to go do all these other things. You already met the person who's gonna make you your next $1 million, or give you access to an audience, or give you access to an opportunity. You've already met the person, but you're out there searching for new. And you're accepting all these new ideas. And as you accept new ideas as a high performer, what does that do? That crowds out other things. And so from this day forward until the end of the year, I want you to have the significant growth rule. Will this project lead to significant growth by the end of the year? If not, table it. If you want to feel in purpose, one way to do that is to recognize the kids are watching. To recognize your family is watching, to recognize the community is watching, the neighborhood is watching, the world is watching us right now. History is taking note. There is a scorecard happening right now based on how we are all showing up. And for some people that terrifies them because like, oh my gosh, we're showing up terribly. Not me, how about you? How are you showing up? One of the greatest things I've ever noticed from the exceptional people I work with and coach, I mean, like this is like amazing people. If I'm training an Oprah Winfrey and her team, or I am talking to some of the most like powerful influencers in the world, or I'm talking with other people who are just like we're all amazed by. Guess what? They always reveal a desire to be a role model for others. When you desire to be a role model for others, it puts you into that pocket of service in life. It makes you go, oh my gosh, I want to not just live the best of who I am, that's part of being a role model, but I want to live the best of who I am because I want to give others permission to do that themselves. I want to share my authentic voice so others can share their authentic voice. I want people to see me volunteering because I want people to go volunteer. I want people to see me being kind because I want people to be and live in a kind world. That is the role model mindset, you know? And I so hope for you, I so hope for you that you will adopt the role model mindset this year. You don't, quote unquote, just have fun, you have to generate fun. As you've heard me say over and over and over before, the power plant doesn't have energy, it transforms and generates energy. If you want more fun in your life, you're gonna have to generate more fun. You're gonna have to have more of attention and intention to create fun and silly and ridiculous and humorous and just joyous moments. So what are some ways you can do that? Well, first and foremost, realize most great fun in life comes from an immersion in the moment. It requires presence, you know? It's like so many people are their attention is a million different places, but have you ever been at a restaurant and you got your 4 or 5 friends around and you all are just riffing, like you're just having fun, you're all kicking around ideas and telling funny stories and the phones are off, the 4 or 5 of you gathered around, or maybe the 2 or 3 of you just gathered around telling stories and you're all immersed in that moment. In immersion, joy arises. In immersion, humor can perpetuate. In immersion in the moment, in presence of the now, you have access to a greater level of energy and awareness all around you that now you can really transform into fun. So you have to begin by having an intention each day to say, I'm gonna be present in my moments today. I'm gonna be present in everything that I do. Present in my conversations with people, present in the tasks that I do, because in that presence, more passion can come to a light and more fun can be had. It begins with having intention to immerse. Here's what the 45-day quit rule is, and it's hard for me. I hate this one. I look at all my big project ideas. You know, I don't know about you, but I have a journal with all my big ideas in it, you know, or I have my vision board, or I have an Excel spreadsheet of all these different ideas and projects I want to do. And I've got right, as an example right now, I know my next 6 books I'm going to write. I know them. I know my next 3 campaigns I'm gonna launch. I know them. But here's what I have to force myself to do, and I don't like it. I say, okay, if this is a major project that I want to do, even if it could lead to significant growth, if I'm not going to start it, listen to this, if I'm not gonna start it in the next 45 days, it's off my plate until next year. And I push it to 2019. I literally just take it from my journal in my little bucket of things I want to do this year, and I put it out into 2019, and I feel so mentally relieved. A lot of people have a lot of anxiety about the number of projects they have on their plate that they really want to do. And so what ends up happening is that anxiety leads to a lot of procrastination. That anxiety leads to a lot of poor prioritization because there's so much to do. They're like, oh my God, there's so much to do here, so I won't do any of it. Have you ever had that? Have you ever found yourself in front of Netflix going, oh my God, I have so much to do, but I just watched the 4th video in the 3rd season. Has that ever happened? You have so much to do, and that's the problem. You have so much to do that you haven't prioritized what you are going to do, so you don't do anything. So what I do is this time of year, I look at all those things that are on my plate and I get honest. Which ones am I gonna start in the next 45 days? And if I'm not gonna start in the next 45 days, put it in 2019. Now it's not even on my mental concern. It's not even on my dashboard. No anxiety there. No, oh my God, I still gotta get that one in. Nope, it's gone. That's the 45-day quit rule. I encourage you to challenge yourself to try it. You need to know what moves the needle in your business and hire to that, not just what you like. You need to know what skills are necessary for your future and develop that, not just what you're naturally good at. And this is where people fail all the time. They're just trying to play in their own lane. But once you step into the role of a business owner, or you step into the role of leader, it's no longer about just your passions. You have a responsibility. It's called stewardship. You have stewardship to your team, to their mortgages, to their rent. You have stewardship to your company now. You have stewardship to the future. You really have to step into the identity of CEO, even if that's not what you're about. But I've learned so long working with entrepreneurs, some of them just never step into the identity they need to assume to win. They never stepped into, I'm the CEO now, I'm in charge. So they kind of half-ass it, they kind of like hobby it. They're not really in that role where they've defined, this is who I am, I'm in charge of building this. If I don't, it all falls apart, and take it upon themselves to say, I have to lead here well. I have to do well here. Because if they don't do that, guess what? No one else is going to do it for them. If you know you're a person of excellence, and if it's true, I would not see a rhythm of crashing and burning. I would not see a rhythm of burns and busts, burning out, failures, and exhaustion. And it's really hard because I know, trust me, like there's so many nights I'm like, oh my God, if I just stay awake for 4 more hours, I can get these projects done. And you know what? And then I'm a complete idiot 72 hours later. I know it will catch up with me. Those who play the long game don't compromise in the short game because they know it catches up later. And that catch up is a devil. It is a bear. It is a beast. It knocks you down. And what happens is I'll compromise 3 hours here. But then because that compromised 3 hours here, you're knocked off your feet 3 days over here. So if you'd taken the 3 hours to recharge, you wouldn't be worthless for 3 days in the middle of the week, right? I want you to have steady rhythm. That's what we call high performance, that ability to have long-term success while maintaining your well-being and your health, my friends. You so deserve that. Double down on your goodness. You want to have an exceptional and incredible 2020? You want to find purpose this year? Double down on your goodness. Adopt the role model mindset and say, how can I be a role model? How can I serve? How can I do more good in the world? Because as I do more good in the world, I lift the world. As I do more good in the world, it challenges me to be a person of potential. And as I challenge myself to be a person of potential and I inspire other people, I feel like I am serving a purpose. See, when we sense that we're role models to others, purpose is connected in that very moment. When you know you're being a role model to your kids, boom, purpose is connected. When you know you're being a role model for your team, boom, purpose is connected. When you're standing on stage and you're speaking your truth, boom, purpose is connected. You don't have to go hope to find it. It's connected when you are being a role model. It's connected when you are activating your full potential. It's connected when you are in alignment with your truth. You got it? You don't have to go look for it. You need to connect to it. What are the skills you have to develop? For me, that was video. For me, that was online marketing, including building web pages, starting newsletters, sending out newsletters, building opt-in pages to capture name in emails, following up with sequences, automated marketing sequences. I had to learn how to do that. I had to learn how to do webinars and all these other things. Not because I wanted to, but I thought, am I always gonna do webinars in my business? Probably. I had to learn how to do them. Not because I had a passion for it. I was like, I'm always gonna do them. So let me figure it out first, try it out first, do some research. There's plenty of things online that will help me figure that out. And then after that, then I can go into hiring somebody else because I can manage it. So first piece, develop the skills needed to win. And if you don't know what those skills are, or those skills don't currently exist in your calendar, meaning you're developing them then you're just going through the motions, you're winging it, and frankly, you're risking your career. One of my favorite things to do, to check to see if I got a high performer in the midst, when I talk with people, I go, what are the 3 skills you're working on right now and developing? And if they don't know it, I know they're amateurs. That's just it. They're just amateurs, they're beginners. And that's not to judge them, that's just to say they haven't stepped into living what we call the high performance experience. The high performance experience is all about developmental goals. It's all about bringing our best and growing into what we need to. Your daily G3 journal and review. If you've heard me teach a lot about downtimes before, especially in the last couple years ago, the G3 was the 3 Gs. And what it means is every single day, I want you to journal on these 3 things. And I do mean journal, meaning you write it down in the morning and you review it at night. So that's why it says journal and review. So you write in the morning and review it all at night. And so here's what the G3 is. The first thing you know is your gratitude. And that is just, what are you grateful for? Why does that make you feel good? Why are you thankful for it? And just write it down in your journal. Just a whole, like, you should have a gratitude journal already, but when you're disappointed or having setbacks, I want you to do the gratitude in the morning. A lot of gratitude journal stuff is at the night. I want you to move it right up in the morning. Like, just, you gotta prime your morning for some goodness. So right off the bat, you gotta do that, okay? So gratitude. Second major thing I want you to focus on is your goals. What are the specific daily and weekly goals you're working on? You gotta get really narrow focused, right? When you're disappointed or sad or setback, the idea of creating a vision board and seeing out 10 years from now, that's too much. What you need to do is get really close in near term. This day's goals, this week's goals. Because if you can check those suckers off and get a little progress in, you'll feel differently, as we talk about. So goals is important. And the third G is goodness. And the goodness is noticing what is good from the previous day. So when you start the day, you're like, okay, what am I grateful for in general, for life? What are my goals specifically daily and weekly in each of these different areas of my life? You might have goals in your career, in your health, in your finances, in your relationships. And then the goodness is, what actually good did happen yesterday? And that will just get you in a place where you're like, oh, this day is gonna be good too. It's making you more mindful to all the good things. And the reason I do that one last, and the difference between gratitude is general things you're grateful for. The goodness thing is to think about what good happened yesterday. And the reason we do that, because in neuroscience, we know that thinking about the goodness from yesterday is triggering your hippocampus to kind of turn on and fire up. And if we get more memory activation off the bat in the morning, we actually have more creativity in the day too. It's weird. Sparking memory is good for creativity. Creativity is very good for coping. And so that's why I'm trying to get you to reflect a little bit on something that happened yesterday, just to think through, find that mindful moment. And it's also teaching you to be more mindful of the moments each day, not just grateful in general, but actually being mindful for the good moments each day. So I want you to do that journal every morning, and then every night, I want you to look back at it and think about it and maybe repeat it if you want to. I just want you to review the day and review those things. What was I grateful for? Oh yeah, that's right. Because maybe at the end of the day, the truth is you haven't moved a lot forward. Maybe, your spouse or yourself, you're still sick, or maybe there's still conflict, or maybe the business still, because I'm not gonna be Pollyannish and say everything changes in one day and everything's great just because you did your gratitude journal. You might get to the end of the day, it still sucks. So reviewing it is gonna put you back in that positive mindset that's gonna help you then take the next day as well. Before you hire a team, I really encourage you to either hire one person and the two of you outsource a lot of the tasks so you learn what that looks like. Because if you haven't outsourced tasks before, you're gonna be a pretty crappy manager or leader, right? If you just go, I'm gonna hire a bunch of people and you get them on board, but you've never actually managed task assignment and task completion, it gets really hard. So what I tell most people, if you're just starting, which I know many of you were in your brands or businesses, or many of you are solopreneurs, and you asked me about this, and you said, Brendon, what if I'm just hiring my first two people? What would you do? I say, my first two people, I might first understand your skill sets. I might hire somebody to be your virtual assistant, or somebody to plug one specific skill set hole that you just don't have. But then the two of you, before you hire number 3, 4, 5, and 6, I actually want the two of you or yourself to outsource first. Go to like Upwork, go to Fiverr, go to something where you can put out tasks as projects to people and manage that. See how that feels. See if you like that. See if you find yourself going, I don't really like working with other people. Some of you should never work with another human being. You're horrible. You should just know that about yourself and accept that about yourself. Step into that truth. If you don't want to lead or be around people, you know what? You'll find that out pretty soon as you start outsourcing. I really encourage you. In other words, I'm sort of imploring you, take baby steps. Baby steps into hiring. Just baby steps. It's like when you go to college and business school, they're just like, well, start with hiring your team and defining your culture and having a mission statement and values. And I'm like, that's even fast for most people. The worst thing someone can do is go hire 5 people and not even know if they know what their business is, what their skills should be, or if they like assigning, delegating, and following up on tasks. So first, outsource. And in general, most of the repetitive or simple tasks that you have in your business, you should look for ways to outsource that first before you hire it internally. Why? It's just straight up basics of math. It will always be cheaper to outsource to contractors and outsource to people who you have the ability to hire and fire immediately because they're work for hire, versus it's somebody who's on your payroll, who's a team member, who you have to give 3 warnings to before you let them go. And especially if you're just starting and you don't really know what the rhythm there is going to be for them to work with you, outsourcing is great. It helps you find your tempo. It helps you find what you really do as a business to outsource. So I'd love for you to just think about, and if you haven't done this and you own your business or you lead a team, to sit down and go, okay, what are all the repetitive tasks that happen in my business? Let me review where my week went, good and bad, and let me decouple my emotions from that so I can enter Monday with freedom. Because when I am in a space of freedom, I make much better decisions than when I am in the space of lack, when I am in the space of self-hatred, when I am in the space of carrying all this stuff unprocessed. I mean, have we learned anything from personal development other than, hey, you got to process the stuff that happened in your life and understand how you identify with that and what you're going to do next. You got to process it, man. And most people, because they're not processing, their immediate snap judgments of self, oh, I screwed up. Imagine if we could just loop back your last couple months and every single week, just think about how much you screwed up the last couple months. I don't know about you, but mine's like my hands would have to I don't have enough hands to count the number of screw ups in the last couple months. I can't. It's so infinite number of screw ups. But imagine if every time I screw up, I'm like, ugh, you're a screw up. Ugh, you're dumb, Brendon. Ugh. And my self-talk in that moment was snap judgment, which most people it is. Snap judgment, self-talk. Dummy. Ugh, I know this. Stupid, Brendon. Ugh. Imagine if we take a loop of that for the last 6 months, uninterrupted, unpaused, unedited, and we took out all the situations of life, we removed all context, and it just sounded like, screw up, you suck, you suck, you suck. Why'd you do that? Oh my God, dummy, 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 stupid, 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 stupid. And we didn't de-hook that. We didn't decouple that. That's what most people's realities are. And because that's always running unconsciously, because they're not deliberate about processing, they're not living a courageous life now, because every time they think a courageous thought, that overwhelming chorus of noise filters and swamps and smashes that. That whisper of a dream that is bold is beaten to death by the rap bass of the horrid talk that we have with each other. It's like boom, 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 boom in the back, right? And so that noise needs to be synthesized and edited down on a simple Sunday. You just sit there on your Sunday and you go, all right, man. Had a lot of noise this last week. A lot of things didn't go the way I did. But you know what? Let me think about them. How could I have met those situations as my highest self or more courageous self? What could I have done? Okay, good. Good, Brendon, you're learning. Good job, Brendon. You're learning. Oh yeah, you could have been better then. Yeah, good for you having the intention to be better. Good for you to learn, Brendon. Good for you to set higher intentions, Brendon. Good job being on purpose. Good job, Brendon, trying to improve your life. Okay, good job. You got a new way to look at that, Brendon. Good job. Now just let it go, man. Just take that emotion and let that emotion float away for a little bit. Don't let that emotion from that mess up my Monday. It's Sunday, I gotta let that go. I forgive myself in that situation because I've learned. I forgive the other people in the situation because even if they didn't learn, I learned and they gave me a lesson. I let go of that situation because that situation is not in this moment as I'm sitting here with my green tea and my journal reflecting on last week. In this moment, I got a journal, I got a green tea. It's just me and the green tea. So you see, we've got this opportunity to make a space every week in which we debrief the week and decouple ourselves, unhitch the trailer of weight, and let it fall back down the hill. If I'm having some dark days and sad times, I'm like, I gotta get progress. So what I'll do is I'll identify my 5 major moves. If you read this book, High Performance Habits, you know about the 5 major moves. So I identify my 5 major moves and I'm like, I'll swiftly move towards one because momentum can shift mindset. And so if I'm in dark, disappointment, down, momentum, like achieve some goals, but here's what's important. Notice I said the 5 major moves. That's what I mean with progress. Because what a lot of people mistakenly do is they just start doing lots of tasks and activities that aren't correlated in any way to the meaningful pursuits of life. So here's what happened. I'm bummed, I'm down, so I'm doing a bunch of work. The next day they still feel bummed and down because what was their work? It was a bunch of activities that actually didn't matter, that didn't give them any meaning. So if you're down, the most important work you need to be doing is the ones that you do feel connection, enthusiasm, meaning, fulfillment, satisfaction from. Those ones that do intrinsically bring you joy, those are the ones that I want you to progress towards. Matter of fact, I really want you, when you're feeling down, disappointed, major setbacks, dark days, what I really desperately want you to do is stop multitasking and doing all the little like busy work things that don't matter. Like put off. Like if it's Wednesday and you got a stack of bills and they're not due for another 30 days, don't pay the bills that day because that's not fun. And you got plenty of time to do it later when you feel like when you get over this funk. Like just say, okay, write the date on those bills, pay them but don't do it today. Because that's busy work. Instead, today, find an activity that you find to be creative, compelling, engaging, fulfilling, and do that. Progress towards the things that have meaning. That's huge when you're down. But most people don't do that. Because what's comforting, just like eating comfort food, is doing low-hanging fruit activity. Now, I'll pay the bills and answer a bunch of emails. But those small little tasks, those don't give you enough bang for the buck to really move through it. And there's a big misconception about that in the culture, including the science, that often says, oh, no, just, if people can complete small steps, small tasks, they'll feel better. And it's like, well, yeah, we all have this reward system in our brain and a little dopamine will fall out. But do we want a little drip of dopamine? Or do we want the floodgates to come open and feel alive? So I want you to do the activities that are more meaningful, not just like tasks. It's really important. You've got to start creating meaningful moments in your life. What do I mean by that? Well, listen, you and I both know, how many times do you get caught up in the day? You get caught up in the news, you get caught up in your swiping and looking and consuming. You get caught up in your to-do list, you get caught up in all the emails, you get caught up in all the work. And all of a sudden the whole day went by and you didn't feel it. And I'm here to tell you something that really remarkable that I've learned this last year. Last year was my first year where as a high performance coach, I was coaching 2 billionaires. And I'd never done that before. Many of you guys know, and you've been with me on my journey, for 2 decades I've been in personal development. And in this last decade, it's kind of where I made my mark. I published 6 books. We grew our audience to, 5 million on Facebook and, 800,000 or whatever it is on Instagram now, 800,000 on YouTube, best-selling books, traveling. You've seen us fill the rooms and all the events that I do. But this last year was like a whole other level for me. It was so hard, so challenging. We moved, Denise and I. And I also started taking on these caliber of clients. Holy cow, I didn't know if I could handle it. I'm not a billionaire. I got no problem telling anybody that. I'm not out there trying to pretend pretend. You can't fake it with billionaires, they know. And so when I was coaching them, I kind of struggled for a while to figure out what they were unhappy about. I hope that doesn't sound flippant, but I was like, wow, they got so much going for, what's up? Why aren't you happier? If you have everything, right? Like the material things most people are seeking, why aren't you happier? And I'll ask you guys that same thing. Why do you feel like you're not happier? Like, what's going on? I mean, most people, consumer watching this, I mean, you're doing okay. I mean, you might be unhappy here and there. You might struggle with, like, especially, I mean, a tremendous amount of our audience in personal development is strivers, they're achievers, they're working hard, they're often the leaders in their community, and everybody goes, wow, I mean, they're already impressed with you. They're already happy that you're chasing your dream. They're already like, kind of, like you're living life on your own terms a little bit. And so are these major people I was coaching. I couldn't figure out what was going on with them. And then I tripped on, maybe it was last year, I think it was the end of the prior year. I got it. Here they were doing amazing things, guys, every single day. They were living the dream. They had finances. They had impact. People were impressed with them. They, had love often in their life. They were married or had good kids or whatever, but they still weren't happy and they still did not feel connected. And here is what I discovered. They did not feel the day. Let me say it again. They didn't feel the day. They went through the day, some of them very high achieving through the day, accomplishing things on their purpose, making a difference, a role model, earning, doing the whole thing. And yet when they laid their head on the pillow at night, they hadn't felt the day. Think about that for a moment. Think about how many days you go to bed and you didn't really feel the moments of the day. And this is why too many days unfelt leads to a disconnect with purpose. Too many days unfelt leads to a disconnect with purpose. Does that make sense? And so what do we have to do? We have to create the habits, the routines, the patterns where we learn to create and feel meaningful moments. I talk about this in my book, The Motivation Manifesto, or you guys hear me talk about it on the Brendon Show a lot, my podcast, where you have to take these moments in time and do what I call slow time. It's like, yes, you're going to kiss your honey on the way out the door to work. But you know what? When you plant that kiss, baby. I like, make it a moment. Feel that moment, When you hug the kids and they're running off to school, like really give a real hug. Don't like, say ya, and move on to the next thing. We're always moving on to the next thing and not feeling this moment. We're not present in the moment because we're not thinking about, let me create something meaningful here. Let me feel something here. Because we're absent of presence and the sense of meaning in the moment, we are disconnected from purpose. The spark of motivation, which is how I anchor into being motivated each day, is ambition. All motivation begins with the desire or hunger and ambition for more, whether that's more depth, or more connection, or more contribution, or more abundance, or more wealth, or more love. Like we just want more of something. And that says, I want to go get that. Like we see a fancier car, it's better than our car, I want to go get that. We see like a deeper love of relationship between two people, I say, I want that in my own life. Sometimes it's a visual cue. Something we see makes us want something, right? Not too far from here, there's a beach that I strolled on vacation, a couple years ago. And I said, I want to live here. And it was a motivation. It was a cue. I saw something, desired it, wanted it, went after it. So sometimes it's a visual, it's a cue out in the world that says, I want more of that thing. If you will realign to the core truth of who you are, stop faking it, stop forcing it, reconnect with what your authentic passions and desires are. Reconnect to your soul, listen to the whispers of your heart, realign to the authentic style of living that you know is true for you, not doing it for other people. Make sure you fulfill those aspirations, your being aspirations. Be the best of who you are. Do things that you're proud of. Relate with other people in the ways that you intend to. Create things that you're proud of. Make sure that you adopt that role model mindset. When you're adopting the role model mindset, you're activating your full potential because you want other people to see that. You want to do things of integrity and value in the world because you want other people to role model that themselves. You're creating the world that you want to be in by living that. You're activating your potential. You're being a role model that will connect you with purpose. You don't have to seek it. It will connect you. When you are in potential, and you are serving by being a role model and being of service to other people, not for yourself, but to be of service to other people, you are connected to purpose. You must start training your mind now to deal with stress. Many of you, that means it is finally time to start learning meditation. It's like you've been thinking about it, you kind of meditate once in a while, and you've thought about it, or you did that one retreat one time. I'm like, make it a daily part of your life to center yourself every single day. For some of you, centering yourself, that just means closing your eyes, thinking about who you want to be, thinking about what's important, just calming your mind down. Other people, centering is like that can be just like if you're super stressed, lay down, take a quick nap. For some of you, that can mean like the important self-talk. Some of you, that means meditation. Like for me, if I don't center myself every day, twice a day, actively, the next day I know I'm going to get short with somebody. I'm going to let anxiousness get to me. I'll get my nerves. I'll get frustrated. I'll bow out. I'll quit. It's so clear. It's like super obvious to me that the days that I don't center end up in tomorrows that are chaotic. And so I just got to make sure I take that time every day. That might mean you go take a 45-minute walk. Many of you guys know every single day I walk outside. Every day. Rain, water, snow, sleet. I don't care. I will walk 30 to 45 minutes outside every day. I don't miss, because that just being out in nature and breathing and feeling the wind on my face and the sun just calms me down, gets me grounded back into the earth and into nature. And it's like, oh, okay. Every day. So for 20 plus years, I meditate at least once a day. I think for the last 14, maybe 11 years, I've meditated twice per day. Sometimes it's only 5 minutes both sessions. Sometimes it's 10 minutes both sessions. And when I don't get that, I might take like a 30-minute nap in the afternoon. At some point, I'll sneak away. Even when I used to have a corporate job and work for somebody else, I'd go close the door in one of the rooms, one of the meeting conference rooms. I close my eyes for 20 minutes. I meditate, take a nap, lay on the floor, do whatever I have to do to recenter my mind. First, we're going to look for a passion for what we do, which I know is very esoteric, but you need to know it, right? For our company, for our industry, we look for people who are passionate about personal development, professional development and growth, personal change, self-help, people who love personal growth and challenge. We want people who have a passion for that. So we identify the passion related to our company. You have to do that too. And you have to be able to articulate it because you're going to look for it in interviews. Then for us, because we're still a startup, we're under 40 some people, right? Our goal is we look for the ability or the history to deal with unknowns and to get stuff done. Meaning people who are adaptable, flexible, who can come in and kind of figure things out and get things done. They have an experience of either starting new things or being on projects where it was not super well defined. The company they worked for or the teams they worked with were fairly flat and self-managed. Just people who can kind of come in and figure things out and get things done. Third, we're looking for people who have ownership to any failures or struggles. One of my favorite questions to ask people when I'm interviewing one-on-one is a question like, tell me about a time when you were working on a project that you really loved and it completely fell apart. Or a project that was really important and it didn't turn out well. How did you handle it? Tell me about that. And if they describe that and all they do is talk about how everybody else screwed up and they were the savior, and then they're probably not the right person. I look for people who go, you know what? This was a project we were working on. It didn't go so well. And I want them to be able to see I want them to go, I'm bummed that didn't turn out. If someone can describe a train wreck with no emotion to it, don't hire them. So if you ask somebody, tell me about a time that you did a project and it sucked, and they're like, well, and they have no emotion, they're called a sociopath. Don't hire those. They don't do good in culture. okay? You want to make sure that someone has feeling and emotion to something that failed in the past, that's going to have passion for what you're doing. I always tell people, one of the number one things I love to hire for, which is weird with my new team here, but I love to hire for this single quality, guilt. I love to hire for guilt. What I mean is, I love to hire people that I know if they do a bad job, they'll feel bad about it. Think about it. You wake up, you grab your phone, you're like, you know, and all of a sudden you don't have any motivation. Instead, you look through all this stuff and all it did is make you feel like you're not enough, or it distracted you, or it upset you, or it created, anger or anxiousness. You got to be careful how you're using cues to start your day. I use cues to start my day motivated. And those cues to start my day motivated are things like I literally wake up and I'll wake up and I'll think of things that I'm grateful for and that I want to give in life. I'll wake up and I'll think about someone I want to do something nice for or surprise today. I'll think of something I can be excited about today. I'll, as soon as possible in the morning, revisit my ambitions list, my goals list. I'll look at them. I'll not wander through the day looking at social media and then, I guess it's time to work and look at my goals. It's like my goals, in the first few minutes of the day, I'm revisiting them. And what I'm doing is when I'm looking at my goals or my agenda or my schedule, I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, why do I want this? What would life be like this? How could I go get it? What should I do today to make that happen? And that motivates me. That's my list of goals, my list of ambitions, the things that can excite me. In other words, it's very intrinsic goals. It's intrinsic rewards that I'm after. I'm like, if I go do that, I will feel better. If I could have this, I'd be happier, right? It's not that I can't be happy with now, but I want to pull. Like if I can have that future pull, that's going to motivate me to go do stuff. Right? I have to literally generate that in my mind. And so when I have that connection in the morning, then my takeaway for you is connect with your ambitions every morning, very first thing in the morning. Somehow part of your morning routine, connect with your ambitions. Look at them. Why do you want them? What would you get from that? How would you feel from that? What would that generate? Why would life be more meaningful? Really connect with that ambition every single morning and you'll start to notice you feel better. Is there somewhere, can you show me on a wall, visually in your house, not on your computer, not in your little phone, not on this one little note that you tuck away and you hide from everybody else so they don't see what you're working on. No, show me a wall with your battle plan. See, so many people don't break through. And they don't break through because what's end up happening for them is so often they're in this place where, unfortunately, the truth is, they didn't have a plan. And they won't talk about it, and they won't say anything to anybody. And yet, if you get down to it, you start coaching, you start working with them, you find out they didn't have a plan. They did not have a plan. And so I think it's so important that you realize the value of having your battle plan. Right? So a battle board. What's a battle board? If I showed you your house, you would have a wall somewhere. Maybe it's maybe you wrote it on a regular 8.5 by 11. Or if you saw it in my room, it's like I literally got like butcher paper and I take, some blue tape and I strap this thing on this butcher tape across the wall. And what is on that wall? There's 12 boxes on that wall, ladies and gentlemen. What's on that battle board? 12 boxes. What's each box? Yep, a month. Each box represents 1 month. And within that box, what do I have written down? The goals that have to happen that month. The metrics that have to happen that month. The steps I'm going to take that month. The key activities of that month. Right there on the battle board. Y'all got it? So, and I've seen a lot of these from clients before. I'll walk in and there's their battle board. And they might have a fancy one made out of burlap and tacks and beautiful Instagram ready battle board. And here's what they got. They got their mission statement across the top. And then they've got on there a reminder of the 3 words of who they want to be as a person. Enthusiastic, bold, present. Oh, I like that. Then they got the 12 boxes. Oh, look, in July, here's the numbers they're trying to hit. Here's what they're trying to do in August. Here's what they're trying to do in September. And on that battle board, it might be the most simple things. It might be in September, event coming up. Okay, what are they doing before the event? Here's the 5 steps. Okay, October, what are they doing? They're taking the vacation. Here's what's going on. But visually representing your battle plan that's on a wall that you see all the time is so important. The very first move you must do when you feel that coming on, when you're like getting whacked around into chaos, the very first thing I want you to always remember to do is center in on your breath. I want you, soon you feel like angry, start taking deep breaths from the belly, and I want you to count those breaths 20 times. Just start, like immediately start counting your breathing. If someone's hollering and screaming, before you holler and scream back and react, breathe. The best way to center the mind and the body is through deep breathing. There's literally thousands of years of research behind this in terms of both the more anecdotal to what we now know in neuroscience. That deep breathing can deeply calm the mind and help you make better decisions. So just breathe. Just breathe. Perspective you get from time away from something or from other angles into something. And so the most important thing that I can encourage you to do, just like I asked you to socialize sadness, is to share how you're viewing the problems that you're having in your life or the challenges. And what I mean by that is literally share how you're thinking about it. So if you're struggling with something with your team or your business, then go to your team and say, hey, can I just walk you through how I'm thinking about this and seeing this? Perspective is not trying to solve anything, right? This doesn't say problem solving. It says perspective. It means you share specifically with other people how you are thinking about something and ask how they would think about it. Follow me? So it's like, you know, I'm dealing with this loss in the business right now, and it's really bumming me out. I don't know really how to think. Can I just share you how I'm thinking about it? And you need either a coach who can hear that, a comrade, a collaborator, a colleague, someone who you know, like, and trust, who you can just share how you're thinking through more often. Because most disappointments happen because we get myopic, meaning we narrow our focus solely to the problem. And in not describing how we're viewing it, we can't broaden it. And so no matter what we have found in almost all social psychology research, in almost everything that I know to be true, having coached high performers for so long, is that if we can get you sharing how you're thinking about things and feeling about things with others, and not trying to problem solve, but just asking how they would look at it, it actually makes you look at it a different way. Like, here's what's been going on. Here's how I'm looking at it. How would you look at it? And they might go, oh, well, I look at that. That's like really great for you. You go, what? And like, well, it gives you time now to kind of restart. You know, it's like when Steve Jobs came back to Apple. He had a very different perspective going back to Apple than he had when he was already running it before, but got fired. And that perspective allowed him to do better. He had to go to another organization and start another company and have a whole new set of team members to help him look at things differently that allowed him, when he came back to the same problem, if you will, the same opportunity, if you will, Apple, he saw it in a completely different way because he'd been with a different group of people considering a different problem, and he learned a new ways to think. And that's what we always have to do. Keep expanding your ways of thinking about things. Make purpose felt by feeling the day. Create those meaningful moments again. Create them. Just take a little moment. Slow down time when you're with your loved ones. Slow down time when you're doing your art. One way to do that is stop being distracted and trying to multitask and do 50 things. Be in the moment. When you're doing personal development, be in personal development, man. Be there with your journal. When you're at dinner with your loved one, when you're on date night, be there. When you're with the kids playing, be there. When you're with your team leading, be there. That idea of being fully present, again, reconnects you to purpose. And suddenly, it's not about what did you achieve externally. You just feel purposeful. You feel a life of purpose because you are doing things that are meaningful, that are serving aspirations, that are serving as a role model, that are being of service to other people. And all of a sudden you're just like, I'm there. I feel purposeful, even if it doesn't matter how much you have in the bank or what the car is like or what the house is like. Those things are wonderful, but those things are also often a result of realigning to your truth. I say it all the time. Sometimes the universe or God or luck or whatever, the stars, whatever you want to call it, doesn't give you what you want because based on all of your distractions and lack of discipline and authenticity, it's simply unsure what you're asking for. If you are asking to feel more purpose, you must realign your life to a life that feels purposeful. It's very easy for me to be really effective in the mornings, and then that afternoon, 2, 3 o'clock, and I can just be like, man, I want to go outside, take a walk, come back, turn on some Netflix, eat some carbs. That can be my afternoon if I'm not careful. So here's what I do. I have a checkpoint in the mid-afternoon to recognize, reward, appreciate anything that I have done today. Anything that I have done today. And that midpoint checkpoint, for me on my phone, I just have an alarm. Mine tends to go off around 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It just flashes to me and it says, what's been great today? What's been great today? And so that will cue me, all right, it's time to visit. What's been great today? So I'll just think about something I've done. It could be like, I answered 10 emails today that I've been avoiding. Good job. It could be as simple as, I made that one call, I said I was going to call, did it. I shot that content, created that thing, whatever. Some type of, listen, motivation is often driven by recognition. So recognize what you have done so far in the day, early afternoon. Then what I do, in order to keep myself motivated even more, because I've set in my mind that I want to be a person who's excellence driven, what I will do is I say, okay, here's what's great so far, and then I ask just a simple question. How do I complete this day with excellence? Just a simple touch point in the afternoon. How do I complete this day with excellence? So I will look at the rest of the day, whether that's 2 hours more, 4 hours more, 5 hours more, 6 hours more, whatever it's going to be for me, and I go, okay, how do I think through the rest of this day with real excellence? And when I can connect with that, I'm telling you, it's just so part of me, and it really makes me want to serve. So please think about having a mid-afternoon connection point to keep yourself motivated. You'll feel a whole different quality of life come in. I promise it's a different experience for people, because most people, they're just running and gunning through the day. They don't realize or understand or accept how challenging it is to lose motivation. And so many people, they've gone weeks without being motivated. They're going through the motions, but there's no energy. There's no emotional pull towards something better. And because they're lacking that emotional pull, what ends up happening? They dog it. They don't contribute as much. Did you look at your goals every day this year? Every day. Did you look at your goals every day this year? It's such a simple question. Every day. I don't mean once in a while. Every day. And if you didn't, my invitation to you is to consider the fact that maybe the amount of time that you're spending with your goals is not sufficient enough to motivate you. Maybe the amount of time you're spending with your goals is not sufficient enough to keep you focused. Maybe the amount of time you're spending with your goals is not sufficient enough to activate that unconscious brain that says, I know how to achieve that. Maybe it's the reason you're not coming up with more ideas in the shower in the morning, because you're not cueing your brain with enough repetition of looking at your specific goals. Because when you look at your specific goals over and over and over and over again, day after day after day after day, it literally helps rewire your brain And it helps program your brain to say, oh, let me pay attention to ideas, thoughts, and feelings I have, consciously and unconsciously, that might be able to manifest these goals. And this is why having a visual representation of what you are after and looking at it every day is so critical to all of personal development training of all time. But why is it that so many people still don't do it? They just get caught up. More people look at other people's Instagram every day than they do their own goals. And we wonder why so many people are struggling to achieve things faster. When we lack motivation, it is a slippery slope to suffering. So please recognize that you must cultivate more motivation. What else can you do? Well, I'll tell you, it's like ambition, attention to those ambitions, effort towards those things. I think all of that is really, really, really clear. But I also really believe that a lot of motivation is simply lost because of fatigue. So let's say you're doing all those things, but you're wiped out. You're tired. Like, a lot of motivation really rests on how you feel physically. If you feel lethargic, you feel tired, you have the flu, it's harder to be more motivated. You can still do it by doing what I've talked about. Re-cue yourself, reconnect with those things. But health-wise, it's really critical for you to say, okay, if I want to be motivated long term, I need to feel greater levels of mobility and energy in my body. So if you ever hung out around me, I'm constantly bouncing and moving and breathing. And if you've been with me at HPA, you see some of these practices, this breath work that I do, that I'm activating and opening up my body so that my body says, let's go, versus, right? So my body's not like, oh, I ate this terrible thing. Instead, my body says, I feel refueled. I feel ready to go. Let's go. Focus on doing activities that draw your passion. Don't focus on the success, the outcome, the final goal, the final destination. A lot of our discouragement comes because we're trying to make that specific thing happen. And we have a way in which we think it has to happen. And let me tell you what, I know a lot of people who they actually did that. They worked diligently for years and years and years to manifest their dream. And now they've achieved the outward appearance of that success. They've got the bigger house, the bigger cars, they've got the yachts, the boats, the fancy vacations, abundance in every single way, and they're unhappy. Because along the way, they were focusing on those external things versus the activities that bring them joy, passion, and fulfillment. And what happens is, you want to compromise on the activities that are actually part of the dream so that you can have the dream, right? It's that person who works a job that sucks for 20 years to finally get paid something, to finally quit that job to do the thing they really wanted to do. So for 20 years, they did things that they weren't even passionate about, fooling themselves like, well, I just need to save and save and save and finally one day be able to go do my dream. And it doesn't really make any sense. Don't give up 20, 30 years of your life doing something, hoping to earn the right to do the thing you want to do. Start doing the activities you enjoy and make you feel challenged or creative or satisfied or fulfilled or on fire now. I think that's what's so important. Everyone thinks the dream lives in a destination. And I always say, no, the dream lives in the activities that you do today. Are you doing today what you would do if you had the outcomes you seek? Because I know a lot of wealthy people who are miserable in their lives. They achieved outward experience, but they're miserable because they're not doing the activities in the day that actually bring them joy and fulfillment. So if you need patience throughout this journey, the patience will come from connecting with the activity every day. Don't wait to have the dream, do the dream. And if every day you touch that experience, you're doing that dream every day, even just a little piece of it, then you don't get so discouraged. You know when you get discouraged? When you're just not doing it. But there's almost no dream that you could have that you can't be doing something and touching that every single day. Some activity every single day that is actually part of the dream. I have a friend whose dream was to become a world-class chef. And so they were going, they were saving all this money to go to culinary school, and they were having terrible jobs, and they were just like, I'm gonna be a chef one day, I'm gonna be a chef one day, I'm gonna be a chef one day. And I hung out with this person long enough to go, hey man, I know your dream is to become a chef, but you don't even cook right now. And like, no, I'm working to save to go to culinary school so one day I can be a chef. I'm like, no, you can be a chef right now. Cook dinner tonight in an artistic, fun way. Touch the dream now. We look for people who have a passion to take initiative, add new value. We look for people who have a spirit of collaboration. You know what the spirit of collaboration always ends up being? It's two things. Number one, spirit of collaboration is enthusiasm. Do they have enthusiasm for the job, for the gig, for what they're doing? Does that enthusiasm show through? Like, I always hire for enthusiasm. But then two, collaboration requires openness. It requires openness to new ideas, to new people. And that openness, when people have openness, they have a different way of receiving and giving feedback. They're more in the learning mode. And so we're looking for that. You need a 30, 45-minute interview tops. Like, interviews should be quick because you should know what you're asking for. By the time they get in the door, either you, your HR company, or the staffing company you're working with, they should have already done the preliminary work to see, like when they come in the door, they're already qualified. Like at a technical level or an interest level, like they should already, or a project management level, or you see their library of work before, like it should be obvious that they could do the job or they have interest in the job. So by the time they get in the room, you're not really qualifying their intelligence or their skill sets or their personalities, because frankly, you could assess all that before they get in. By looking at their resume, by looking at their library of work in the past, by giving personality assessments in advance if you want to do that kind of thing. Some of our companies, we give personality assessment in advance, some of them we don't. So it's up to you. So you have to imagine by the time they get in the room, the whole point, by the time they're in the room, is that's a few questions to really gauge them on the things that are most important to you. So I manage my sleep, my diet, my health in ways that support my mental clarity and energy. And I know that sometimes people think motivation is just a mental game. I'm like, yes, but your mind and your body are connected. If your body is lethargic, so is your mind, right? That brain-body connection is real, y'all. And I know you know that. You've been sick, you've been tired, there's other times when you've been out of shape, you feel terrible. So I'm here to encourage you, as I always do. If every single month in high performance, I have to cheer you on to get in better health, to prioritize your health, to sleep good, to eat well, to move. If I have to do that every single month, I will do that. I will be your champion. I will cheer you on. I want you in excellent health this year. So please hear me cheer that on every single month, because I just know I get you in better health. I get you in better mental health. We get you in better mental health, it's easier to sustain that fire and that drive. Patience is easier when you are constantly learning mastery. And what I mean by this, if you've heard me teach a lot, I'm often telling people, make sure you know the 5 critical skills that you would need to develop to become world class at whatever you want to do. I mean, to become really good at. What skills would you have to master? Like for me, I would have to master not just writing, but I would have to master how to promote a book, how to build my brand, how to run a business, how to communicate on video and stages. I had no idea how to do like any of that, and you can tell I still suck at some of that, right? It's like, it's not easy. But because on the way to become best-selling author, I was always studying how to do all of that stuff. Learning can make you feel more patient, because learning is giving you progress. Learning is readying yourself for that moment you get the big break. Learning makes patience easier because your mind feels more competent. It's like, you know what? I'm learning here. At least I'm getting some momentum. Maybe, the doors aren't opening. Maybe the bank account isn't filling up. But my mind is getting sharper at this. I'm developing skill. And when you develop skill, your mind says, hey, progress, we're doing okay. When the mind says, hey, progress, we're doing okay, patience is so much easier. It's when you're sitting there, the people used to say twirling your thumbs, now they just say playing video games. It's like when you're sitting there playing video games all day, detached from the dream, not doing activities of the dream, and you're not learning, you really fall into complete detachment from progress. And now it's not even a matter of patience. You just flat out give up. Because the mind needs a sense of growth. And that growth is either come from learning or doing. Questions like, what attracted you to wanting to work with us? Like what about our company or this role made you passionate about it? Tell me about a time that you set a difficult goal and you hit it. Tell me about a time that you were on a project or had a goal and it totally failed. How did you handle that? That gets to the points I made earlier. Who do you admire the most and why? I love that question because you'll start to see people's heart come out in an interview. Like, who do you admire? Why do you admire them? But also, who do you want to be a hero to, or who do you want to admire you? Which is a really great question because it gets people really thinking about how they live their life and for whom, and it gets to a more personal level, often in interviews. What do you think would make you successful here? And that kind of checks, have they paid attention to the company? Do they know what they're applying to? Do they know what your culture's like? Have they done their homework? Let's see, have you seen our website or what we do in the marketplace? Do you have any advice that we could already be better? Like where could we improve what we do? What do you know about us? What could we do better? Give us some advice to see if they're actually paying attention. What project would you consider your most significant career accomplishment? I just like to say, what's a project you've done that you're really proud of? That was really the most important thing. And you hear and get to see their passion and their enthusiasm and the sense of fulfillment that they might have. We also like to say, why would you like to be part of this team? Like, what is it about this place? These types of questions, they're not the end-all be-all questions. You could go pick up any book on interviewing at your local bookstore and see, and yes, please go to your local bookstore, and see like hundreds and hundreds of questions. You have to know what are the questions important to you. And that's it. That's it. And if you ask the right questions and you get the right vibe, then it's like, okay, because by the time they come in the door, they can probably do the job. Now in the interview, it's all about those things of, can you see the passion, feel the heart, feel the fulfillment, see that they're a good person, see that they have enthusiasm about it, see that they're ready and they're hungry to do the work, see that they're confident in it. We've done interviews in the past with some of our companies. The persons we interviewed, they didn't really want to be there, or they didn't seem like they would be good fit for a team. They were more of like the individual contributor, and they were smart, but you couldn't see that they would be like willing to work with people. And you're not trying to hire all the same type of person, or same type of skill set, but you are, as a leader, and you should write this down, you're not trying to hire the same person, not trying to hire the same IQ or personality, but you are trying to hire the same kind of heart. You're trying to hire somebody who has enthusiasm for their day, for their work. The kind of heart that wants to do excellent work. The kind of heart that wants to get to work. The kind of heart that cares about other people. So I was saying, when you're building a culture, you're not building a culture based on skill set, you're building a culture based on heart set. Like, are these people who care enough about each other and have high enthusiasm in their life and for the role? And if you get that right, you're gonna create some kind of magic. And people won't know the magic, they won't know you thought through all this, but all of a sudden they'll start seeing it, right off the bat. They're like, oh, there's something special going on here. And it's because you hired for the heart set, not just the skill set. Intention, intention, intention. For me, I train myself on the 3 words I want to be, and I'll remind myself of those 3 words, remind myself of those 3 words, remind myself of those 3 words. Because it's easy for me to be reactive and be responsive, and instead I want to be intentional. So I know those 3 words that really defined you, and repeat those. Like, oftentimes if you ever see me around and I'm like this, all I'm doing is I'm kind of rocking, I'm breathing in and out deeply, I'm getting attentive to my body and my posture, and I'm repeating my 3 words just to reconnect. Because I do that every day. In the moment of crisis, because see, moments of crisis, it feels like everything's out of control. But what can I control? Breath, body awareness, what I say to myself. Breath, body awareness, what I say to myself. I do that over and over and over again, and it really helps me lock back in. I hope this supports some of you, because emotionally, learning to be centered emotionally will so support you as you go to change your life. What is fun for you? Right? I know that's so basic, but Can you really think of, if I asked you right now, and be honest, if I asked you, what are the top, 10 most fun times you've had in your life? Do they come easily to you? See, for most people, it doesn't. They're like, well, there was that time that I went on a roller coaster and I jumped out of a plane, or, that time I was at a wedding and I danced like a chicken. Like, they really struggle. And partially, what happens for people is they just go through life kind of bumbling and crashing around, and they never have any real reflection on what brought them joy, happiness, engagement, enthusiasm, fun. So what I do is when I have a fun moment, at that end of the night, I'm a big journaler, as many of you know. I'm always encouraging you, at the end of your day, journal about things that you're grateful for, things that you desire, cool things or inspiring things you saw people say or do. Just journal about your life, about philosophy, whatever it is, but I like to write at night. And I always try to write also a component of what was fun today. I reflect on what was fun. So for me, I've got so many access points, so many references of what was fun in my life. It's just immediate that I know the things that bring me great joy because I've thought about them. So do you have your fun list? Things that bring you great joy and great fun in your life. And you know what those should be? Your to-do list. Because here's what people do. Their to-do lists every day are tasks, not life. And that's why they're miserable. They've gotten lost into the minutia of what must happen versus who they could be that day. And that's where their life starts to derail and they lose that charge. It's so magical in life. So what's your fun list? What are those things that you could do that would bring great joy and fun into your life? And do them more often and automatically you're having more fun. You have to teach your mind to honor the struggle. You have to teach your mind. Every day you're getting discouraged. And instead of saying, well, I guess I'll quit, I suck, this is no good, it's never gonna happen, you have to take control of the self-talk and honor the struggle. Like literally tell your mind how to deal with the process. Tell your mind, no. This process, this hardship, this struggle, it's part of conditioning me to be ready for the dream, to succeed. This part of the struggle that I hate right now, it's developing character, it's making me force it, it's helping me challenge, it's making me grow. In other words, anticipate the fire. Anticipate the difficulty. Anticipate that it's gonna suck. Anticipate the days that you just don't like it. I'm a high performance coach, so I'm blessed to work with some of the most literally extraordinary people in the world. And some of my favorite clients in the past have been working with the US military. And it's like, if you ever heard that Green Beret conversation where they use this phrase, embrace the suck, right? Army Special Forces will say embrace the suck. Yeah, this sucks, but it makes us awesome. Let's dig in, let's get better, let's skill up, let's use this to build our character, our strengths, our skills, our ability to win in the future. So all the things that suck right now, you're like, oh my God, I can't figure this out. It's gonna make you better. And I don't mean this just philosophically. Let me give you an example. At the very beginning of my writing career, I went completely broke. Totally broke, totally bankrupt, literally nothing. Wiped out, clean, because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to write a book. I didn't know how to make money. I didn't know how to promote it. Just completely wiped out, 100%. And to the point where it's I couldn't even have credit cards, so they'd gone into bankruptcy, so they took the credit cards. I had no credit, nothing. I had a debit card and no money on it, And it was the worst time. And I remember I'm going through this and I'm and I want to be a personal development guy. I want to be a life coach. I want to be a high performance coach one day. I want to inspire people and I can't afford a burrito. I was what? It was miserable. But I was no, this is going to teach you to be frugal. This is going to teach you to manage cash. This is going to teach you to be resourceful. When everybody else has fancy stuff, you're going to outperform them with stuff that isn't as great. I'm going to learn to be a resourceful human and prioritize being innovative and creative versus just having all this stuff. So I didn't have the fancy cameras. I borrowed a 3-legged table from my mom from the sewing room, and I would just type on that. I borrowed a laptop from somebody to write my book. I was just pinching every penny and dime to afford rent. And then when I couldn't afford rent, I had to move in with my girlfriend, and I had to ask friends for help and support. And it was so humbling. And notice I said humbling. I didn't say embarrassing. I didn't say shameful. I didn't say sad. I didn't say discouraged. It was humbling. It was like, you know what? People who get success, they earn that. Right now, I'm earning it. I'm putting in the miles. I'm dealing with the hardship. I'm going to honor this struggle as part of the process. Keep a good attitude, Brendon, because if you can survive this, you can build anything. If you can rise from this, you can crush anything. If you deal with this emotional hardship now, you will have intellectual, physical, spiritual, emotional confidence for life. A lot of people do achieve their dream. And guess what? Once you achieve your dream, guess what? You don't have the dream anymore. You got the goal. You made it happen. And now, if you show up and all is smooth sailing and all is easy, you know what a lot of people do when they get success the way they perceived it? They become tragic losses. They lose their drive. They lose their motivation. They aren't happy. They're like, I worked so hard to get this. I got it, and now I'm not fulfilled. I'm not satisfied. Life isn't greater. And guess what? A lot of those people, they complained the whole way, and then they got it. And then when they got it, now that it was gone, they were still a complainer. And what are you without all the things? You're who you became as you strived. So what I'm here to tell you is, along this process, along this struggle, every single day, as it sucks, as it's a grind, as it feels like a hustle, as it feels like you're like compromising everything, and it's just like, oh my gosh, honor this process as a challenge to you to become a better human, to develop a better attitude, to develop those skills that are required. Like literally experience it, not as a journey to achieve a dream, experience it as an opportunity to transform. Experience it as an opportunity to grow. Experience it as an opportunity to test your mettle and ask, what am I really made of? How can I deal with this and live a great life right now? Not in 10 years when I hope to make it. How do I live a great life right now? Because if you can't teach yourself to live a great life right now, when you get financial abundance or you get the dream or everything happens, guess what? You're still stuck with you. And if you can't teach yourself to be satisfied, joy-filled, emotionally connected, happy, fulfilled now, I'm here to tell you, after coaching literally the most impressive people on the planet, people who are on covers of magazines, spiritual leaders, presidents of the United States, having the experience of working at the top echelons of every organization at the top levels, I can tell you that there's a lot of people who do get the dream. And because they weren't patient and they didn't develop themselves along the way, they hurried into it, they complained and crashed and grinded into it, they get there, they compromise their integrity, they compromise their health, they never taught themselves to be happy. So they got everything and they're still unhappy. And you're like, you have everything, how are you unhappy? It's because they never taught themselves along the journey to honor it and to use it as a training ground for being their best selves every day. You know the old days, like in the 80s and 90s, maybe you don't know the 80s and 90s, I don't know how old you are, but in the 80s and 90s was very big, like put your values in words up on the walls all around your office. It was like integrity, as if any company didn't have that as a value, but let's integrity, right? Or you'd have another one over here of just like love, or like one singular word, excellence. And it was all over the place. And then there was a big poster with an eagle flying and a motivational quote from Les Brown or something, right? You remember those? Like that was really exciting times and people loved all that stuff. And that's all really good. But the issue with it is people don't own it and live it because you're not naming those things as things that we do versus just cold words on a wall. And so you have to take all of your values and say, what do we do here that makes us unique or good? And so like if you have values in your mind that you want all your people to have, write all those values down as a list, but then write them in a way that really defines what those values are as things that you do. So for example, when I share with my team, when I'm onboarding, I share these 4 things. I say, okay, these are what make us unique and special. This is what we do here as a culture. So I say, this is what we do as a culture versus just a word or a value. Let me give you an example. Like, first one, we challenge ourselves. That embodies almost everything that is important to me in this brand, in this business. We challenge ourselves. That's something that we do, right? We challenge ourselves. And so when people turn something in, did you challenge yourself on that? Okay, did you set a larger goal? Are you going for a stretch goal? Are you trying hard things? Did you challenge yourself with what you're submitting here, right? We want to always challenge ourselves to develop deeper skills, better abilities, better ways to contribute. So we challenge ourselves here. We're going to push, and that also allows an understanding like we're going to challenge you, because it's not challenge yourself, it's we challenge ourselves. I'm going to challenge you, I'm going to challenge you, you're going to challenge you, you're going to challenge you, you're going to challenge me. Like setting the context that challenge is part of this thing, we challenge ourselves. And that's the expectation. That, for me, embodies tons of principles, tons of philosophies. That's like embodies hard work and excellence. That embodies the openness to feedback. That embodies the willingness to push beyond our comfort zone. Embodies so many concepts. We challenge ourselves. Now, you need to make a list like this. I don't want you all to just go and use mine. I want you to be like, what's important to you? What do we do here? The second one for us is we take care of each other. That's a huge one. I've been in other companies where they say we treat each other like family, or we care for each other like family. Whatever it is, it's like we just say we take care of each other, and that embodies that we're attentive, we're present with each other, we know each other's story, we know what's going on in each other's lives. We're here for you if something sucks and you need a shoulder to cry on or somebody to help you with your work. Like, we care about each other is important. We take care of each other. We take care of each other like family. We take care of each other like we're all in this together. And that embodies openness. That embodies the willingness for feedback. That embodies the support. That embodies compassion and empathy and kindness. I don't have to put empathy on a friggin' billboard in the office. I go, we take care of each other. And that embodies that word. Does that make sense? That's what I'm saying to you. Like, write it out as we do these things. Like, that's why I'm saying it. Name your values as things we do. In relationships, repair is resilience. Repair is resilience in a relationship. What do I mean by that? Well, we think of like perseverance in terms of resilience. I'm like, no. In relationships, it's repair. The ability to repair conflict after it happens, to say I'm sorry, to apologize, to accept apologies, to fix the situation, or understand like this happened, we didn't want that to happen, let's try this next time. And allowing the ego to fade out of that, to be able to say I'm sorry, to be able to say I was wrong, to be able to say you're right, to be able to say, you know what, we didn't want that together, without the hatred or the blame, is everything. Denise said this morning, she says, it's so important to apologize, for the other to accept that apology, and for the two of you to decide to move on. I love that, right? It's like, okay, apologize. The other person's gonna go, I hear you apologizing. I appreciate that you're apologizing. Thank you for owning that. What can we do better next time so we don't run into that? And moving it from problem focused to solution focused, moving it from blame and upset to the next thing. That's so important. That's what I mean by repair. People have to learn how to repair when they mess up together. And you have to anticipate, we're all gonna mess up together, right? I mess up all the time, but I'm so, personally, in all areas of my life, but I'm the first to apologize. Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't anticipate that. I'm sorry that happened. Oh, I see where you're coming from. Okay, got it, understood. And it's like that repair, like intrigue, maybe it's because I'm a people pleaser. I want everyone to feel good after an argument, like right away. I'm not a steward. I can't remember anything negative that happened last week. You can live the high performance experience like literally now. Stop thinking one day you'll be next level, world class, best, rich, happy, fulfilled. Do that now. Like, live today as a wealthy individual. You feel wealth in your mindset. You feel wealth in your abundance of life. You feel wealth because you're alive. You feel wealth because you're gifted this beautiful breath. You feel wealth and joy and fulfillment now because the little things, the way the cat is, the way the dog is, the way that beautiful person was today who is kind to you, the opportunities you have in front of you, the internet that's free of learning just like this. There's so many things along your journey to achieve your dream that you can appreciate and notice and be fulfilled from. And I just want to share with you that I got to have that experience because many of you all along my career has cheered me on. We bring the joy. We create a positive atmosphere, a positive community. We want that enthusiasm and that joy and that positivity because everybody has had the opposite. And when you have the opposite, it sucks, right? We've all worked for a negative leader. We've all been in a negative environment. We've all been in that place where you're just doing tasks and you're like, God, this job sucks because there wasn't a spirit that was imbued there. And you've all heard me say, the power plant doesn't have energy. It generates energy. I don't believe we just have joy spontaneously, though it can happen. I think we're responsible for bringing the joy in our life. We have to bring the joy into our workplace. You're not always going to have tasks that make you feel perfect and bright and fulfilled. So you know what? It's about how you carry that load. It's about your attitude to the activities. It's about your understanding of how things all fit together to make the big difference. These are concepts that you share when we say bring the joy. It's like bring joy into your work, even if the work is unloading the dishwasher. Bring joy into the work, even if the work is as simple as like answering 50 emails. Bring joy into the work, even if you've made your 50th quote card for the week. It's like you have to put the meaning into your work if you're going to be world class and not hope for the meaning to come out of every activity and task, right? It's so important. It's like Muhammad Ali said, he hated every single workout at some point. He hated them, but he knew he had to do them to be excellent, right? It's easy not to, enjoy everything that you do, so you have to bring the joy to that thing. Write down what is not fun for you, and quickly and efficiently and with honor and integrity to the utmost ability that you can, remove those things for your life. If you're doing things that just are not fun for you, you have to ask, can I delegate those? Are those truly necessary? Are those creating an opportunity cost in my life where I could be spending more time doing things that are fulfilling, that are fun, that do move the needle of progress forward in life? What are you doing right now that you just gosh, you hate it? You take no meaning or joy from that? And if there is something there, you need to quit that activity, delegate that activity, or seriously question and plan for the removal of that activity to the utmost of your ability sooner than later. If you're like, my job is no fun, then either A, you need to bring more fun to that and transform the energy there into fun, or B, you need to plan your exit. And if that sounds scary, make sure you watch my YouTube video called Why to Quit. It's about quitting and the power of quitting. Because sometimes until you quit what is wrong in your life, a white space does not open for what is right in your life to enter. So sometimes quitting something that is not fun is a way to get closer to something that is fun. But first question yourself, are you bringing the fun? It's the old Zen master tale that the only Zen that you find at the top of the mountain is the Zen you carry up with you. So being fun is what will make anything fun. I mean, frankly, I do a lot of things that sometimes I'm like, it's occasional work. I wish I didn't have to do it, but if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna bring full presence and joy and fun to it myself. I just don't care to hold anything above anybody. It's like, okay, it happened. And my thought is always, we didn't want that. We didn't want that because it's about the relationship, right? We didn't want that fight. We didn't want it. They didn't want it to go that bad. No one wanted to get in a screaming match. And we always say, oh no, you don't understand my spouse. They want to scream. They want the argument. Actually, they don't. They just lack the education and the perspective of how to do it differently. No one wants to be in anger and wants to be in vitriol and wants to argue and wants to be belittling and condescending and awful. They literally have never been trained on a better way. They're literally unaware or ignorant of another way. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person or they're stupid. It means they haven't had that training. Like, it's a really struggle. I know for many of you in personal development land, right? How many of us like can't believe that people don't understand basic personal development stuff, right? And we get frustrated with them. But a lot of people have never, you gotta understand, 98% of this world has never had any training on mindfulness, well-being, or relationship improvement. Zero training. Because in school, all we taught them was to memorize a bunch of stuff from a bunch of old dead dudes, right? It's like, we are not teaching people how to do peopling. So you can't get mad that a 30-year-old person doesn't know how to resolve a conflict. They never had any conflict management training. Great leaders envision a compelling and different and vibrant future than what is here. They have an alternative, clear view of what the world could be like tomorrow than it is today, right? They have a shared purpose. They believe that they and others would be compelled by, interested, inspired by, and want to work towards. And that's a big deal. And you always read about it in leadership, right? You have to have vision. I mean, it's biblical. Where there is no vision, people perish, right? We know the power of having that vision. So you have to sit down, though, and actually do it. The reason we say envision versus just have a vision is you have to sit. It's a practice of envisioning. What should tomorrow look like for my team? What should tomorrow be like for my business, for my organization? What should tomorrow be like for my life? And not just tomorrow, a long-term mindset and view, the dream, right? That magnificent obsession, that bold desire, the moonshot goals and purposes and missions of life, the bigger picture. That's envisioning a different reality in the future than we experience today. And that's what everybody gets excited about in leadership. Where there's no vision, there's no leadership. Where there's no vision, people perish. We always have to continually sit down and envision, where are we? Where can we be going? It's an active process. If you set a vision one time and you forget about it, it's not gonna help you accomplish the influence or the impact you want in your lifetime or in those that you lead. Most fun, the fun that just really is magical and so grateful, often comes in a social environment. Friends. We've so lost the art of friendship in our modern, distracted, digitized world. Let me tell you what, just try to go out to breakfast or lunch or dinner with your friends at least once a week. If that sounds crazy to you, then you have lost your life into a world of work and tasks and fake responsibilities that are only pulling you away from life. You need to evaluate your life and say, why can't I get away with some friends once a week for an hour or two for some lunch, dinner, breakfast, or brunch? Why am I not going out to drinks with my friends anymore? You know, and don't pretend and say, well, it's because I got too old to go out and, come on. It doesn't mean you have to go out and party like rock stars till 5 a.m. It means brunch, lunch, dinner, a walk, a stroll, a workout with some friends, and enough time with them to enjoy sharing stories about life, sharing stories about what has been fun with them. Friendship is the ultimate bedrock of fun. It's the great source and the wellspring of fun. There's a quotable, friendship is the wellspring of fun. I mean, it's just like one of these things. It's just like once you have friendship in your life, fun follows you because it's your buddies, but you have to be around them. And I know that's hard. Look, we're all busy, but that's where life is. So do not neglect it. Denise and I were talking this morning on our morning walk, and she was talking about the power of self-soothing. And it really resonated with me. And I was like, oh, yeah, I think I'm good at that. How many days I feel super frustrated or angry or hurt or slow. I can't count them as days, but those moments are there. And I got to calm myself down. So again, coming back to the release meditation technique, or coming back to tapping, or self-soothing. If you guys were with me the other day, I taught this simple thing of you breathe in, you breathe out, you breathe in, you breathe out. And all you're doing is you're putting pressure on the back of your head, near your cerebellum. You're pulling with pressure down over the neck and onto the chest. And I will just close my eyes and I'll take the breath in and breathe out. And I'll do that 10, 20, 30, 50 times. I'll bounce in place 10, 20, 30, 50 times. I'll open up my body. I'll tap. I'll do a lot of things because guess what? I know the sooner I end that anxiety and that frustration, the more productive, healthy, and forward-looking I am. I don't want to be stuck there. So I have to self-soothe. Remember, if you aren't doing self-soothing on an active basis, you are not even close to your real emotional powers. What most people do is they just go through the world reacting, go through the world feeling what their biases feel, going through the world upset, angry, emotional roller coaster 24/7 as if they don't have complete and utter ability to change that and to feel better over the long term. It's not easy, but if you're above the age of 20 years old, if you're above the age of 18 years old, I hope you spend a lot of time trying to learn to master your emotions. A lot of time trying to self-soothe when you get angry or upset or frustrated. If you're dealing with stress the same way today as you did 3 years ago, welcome to Growth Day. God bless you. Thank you for being here. There is no excuse for people not getting better at stress every year of their life. But we just feel like, oh, stress just happens to me. Well, yeah, emotions do. That is the definition of emotion. It is a physical and immediate impulsive response. But an emotion is not a feeling. A feeling is an ongoing series of emotions that we hold on to. That becomes now, as we hold on to that feeling and those thoughts, that becomes a mood. That mood becomes a habitual pattern, which establishes our overall affect, our attitude, and ultimately our personality. And so if those moments of stress and anxiety happen and you're not doing something to self-soothe, where it's like, go take a bath, go for a walk, go to the gym, take a breath, lay on the floor, go make your wellness shake. Like whatever you got to do, self-soothing is actually the ultimate competitive advantage. When you're at work and two people are in a meeting and they're frustrated, one person loses their stuff because they haven't trained themselves, and the other person can stay cool hand Luke and steady, the peaceful warrior. I'll put my money on that peaceful warrior every day of the week, right? When you see great executives, great leaders, their ability to be even keeled, even when it's hard, is so impressive. If you haven't read the autobiographies, the speeches and the writings of a Nelson Mandela or a Martin Luther King Jr., I plead for you to read those things. Even volatile people like great leaders like a Winston Churchill, as an example, who would find a way to calm down. Yes, sometimes I know alcohol was there, but also the ability to change mindset, to look at it in a different angle or perspective. Their ability to shift their mind from stress and anxiety into flow or into peaceful action inspired me so much. I thought, okay, I got to learn how to do that. Okay, if I want to be resilient, I got to learn to calm myself down. If I want to, be stronger as a leader, I got to calm myself down.
Research study in psychology found out that both second person and third person makes you makes your self-talk more powerful. So if you're going to do affirmations, you wouldn't just say, I want to do this, I want to do this. You want to do what we call in the book self-coaching, where you would say, in my case,
yeah,
Brendon, it's important you do a good job here today because you usually don't do interviews. And you really love Marie and you want to do a good job for her and her people. And this is a book you worked on for 3 years and it's important it does well. And Brendon, don't forget, you're so lucky you get to do this, brother. So just enjoy the process. You're so lucky, Brendon. That's a different level of going, I'm lucky, right? It is.
I'm Brendon, I'm
yes,
great.
Yes, Another one I do every morning in the shower.
Yeah.
Assuming I take a shower, but every morning in the shower.
Because we all don't every day.
Not every morning.
No, we do not.
It just doesn't happen.
It does not
happen. I told you, 24 hours ago, I was staying in a barn in the woods at a friend's house.
Yes.
But the second thing I ask myself in the shower every morning is, what might happen today that could trip me up? And how are you going to bring your best self to that, Brendon? Mm-hmm. I say that every morning in the shower to myself. And it just helps me anticipate that, something's going to go wrong during the day.
Absolutely.
And if I already know everything, like this morning's was, okay, You're in, I think I'm, yes, North Manhattan, where I'm staying. Would you call it North?
You're uptown.
I'm uptown.
And you're coming to, let's just call it downtown.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm like, okay, that's going to be 45 minutes. It's a hot summer day.
Yes.
I'm going to get hot. And I know when I'm hot, sometimes I get impatient.
Yes.
And I get stressed. And I don't want to feel that. So just pay attention to how you're feeling on your way down to the interview with Marie Brendon. And really just engage. Pay attention. Be present with New York. And really enjoy that you're here. I know that sounds completely crazy, but every high-performing athlete does it. Every salesperson does it. I mean, at high level. Every person I interviewed who are at what we call the top 15% of all high performers, they all self-talk, and most of them we found were doing it in second and third person,
So
which was
cool.
amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
I think it's so fun.
Yeah, little things. Yeah.
I
So if
enjoy-
you already talk to yourself and you say your name to yourself, and they're not crazy, you're probably a high performer.
Because you made it this far in a video, I want to celebrate you. Most people start and don't finish. Most people never actually follow through. Most people say they want something, but they don't ever do the work to actually get it. But you are different. You are special. Believe Nation, you made it here all the way to the end, and I love you. So as a special celebration, if you put a hashtag believe down in the comments below on this video, I will showcase you and celebrate you somewhere on the screen in a future video because you are awesome.
For 50 more amazing rules from Brendon, check the video right there next to me. I think you'll love it. Continue to believe and see you there.
1 hour more per day on my core 3. Okay, I begin this every year. I go, okay, first move. I know I need to identify what are the core 3 things